How has India's power generation mix evolved in recent years?
5 years back in 2020, solar was only 9% of total India's capacity. It is already above 20% now.
Yeah.
And growing ahead in next 2 or 3 years, it is likely that it will be. The transformation is happening fast. Solar, wind, plus the battery. India incentivizes a lot in the last stage of solar, which is for every industry unit ecosystem. Only one part will not be enough.
India's energy sector is undergoing a remarkable transformation, with renewables playing an increasingly vital role. In today's special episode, we are joined with Mr. Arijit Dutta, Vice President Equity Research at Kotak Mahindra Asset Management Company Limited, who will share his perspective on the evolution of India's power generation mix, the drivers behind solar and wind growth, and the challenges of building a renewable-heavy grid. Welcome to the show, Mr. Datta.
Thank you so much.
So let's start with understanding how has India's power generation mix evolved in recent years, and what role have the renewables played in this transformation?
So gradually, if you look at India's power mix, it is slowly transforming from from thermal heavy to renewable.
Yeah.
So for example, renewable, if you look at renewable picture, solar is the main key driver. 5 years back in 2020, solar was only 9% of total India's capacity. I'm not going by the PLF discussion, just the capacity, it was 9%. It is already above 20% now.
Yeah.
And growing ahead in next 2 or 3 years, it is likely that it will be touching towards 30%.
Okay.
So the transformation is happening fast. Solar, wind, plus the battery, which are the new age technology, which is coming in terms of storage. It's rapidly growing fast, and especially it is going fast because it has been a government push.
So, what are the main drivers behind this rapid growth of solar and wind capacity in India over the last decade?
So the main driver would be government transition journey that the government is envisaging. So non-fossil generation as a mix, as a total capacity of India, government is targeting 500 gigawatts by 2030. Now this push, there is a obligation, there has been push to every state. The central is monitoring that how much capacity has to be added.
Okay.
And how much incentive that the government is going to give in order for this transition. So India is committed towards green energy, and that's the biggest driver. But even a very important fact is the pricing part. If you look at the prices, it has fallen very dramatically, and that makes, in spite of government push, it is also getting affordable. Since you want to discuss about last 10 years, so going in the 10 years perspective, if you go to 2016, solar cell price in China was almost like 70 RMB per peak watt. The 70 became almost kind of like 30 in 2020, and now it is below 10. So this major transformation of technology and scale that is driving down the prices helped making renewable and affordable. Comparing to thermal, it is almost half the price of thermal now.
Okay. So, despite strong growth in renewables, why does coal, which is a fossil fuel, remains to be the dominant source of energy? And what are the real challenges of fully transitioning it to a renewable heavy grid?
So both are separate questions. So I'll take the first question first. That is why thermal is still prevalent, although there is a push. So what is happening? Thermal is a 24/7 generation avenue. So you run a coal plant day in, day out, all the time, there is no issue. But renewable has its own limitation. For example, solar happens only in the daytime, as we all know. Wind, again, happens in the evening time, that too it is seasonal. So in towards the monsoon months, the wind picks up, and as the winter comes in, it's slowly getting tapered down. So basically, solar and wind, both are the key source of renewable, are having intermittency problem. This is a challenge there. So in the evening, where there is no solar and where the wind capacity is also limited, especially in the non-wind months, there is nothing to back it up. So we call it storage, which hasn't uh, evolved much till now. Things are changing. So this is helping. This is helping thermal to remain relevant. Stay in the time. Stay there, because even if you look at the mix during the daytime, in the daytime when solar is at peak, thermal is actually backing down. There is a ramp down of thermal power plants to accommodate solar. Okay. Because in the evening you can't shut down the plant and start it again. Right. So that's the reason why thermal is still relevant. Coming to the challenges in terms of the mixed challenges, the main problem that is happening is to the grid. Now, too much of solar is coming from India's northern parts, mainly Rajasthan and towards Gujarat, which is northwest, you can say. There it is solar and renewable heavy. Whereas thermal, the entire India's infrastructure was towards east. Chhattisgarh and the entire belt is was thermal heavy. So the grid initially what happening that east was supplying power to the north and other regions. Now things have changed. North is supplying towards east. So the grid infrastructure has to be ramped up. Okay. It is moving, but it also time consuming. Plus, unlike thermal, which is giving a stable power to the grid, solar is having various intermittency. The intensity increases with radiation. So towards the noon, it is giving a peak power, and in the night, it is going to zero. This intermittency is creating problem for the stability of the grid.
And it is something you can't really control also. It's not in humans' hand to control when to get the solar
Absolutely.
power. Yeah.
Absolutely. So it's like not only India, the entire world is having this thing and things are evolving. Let's see how it moves.
Also, Mr. Datta, please tell us what are energy storage systems and what role can they play in India's net zero journey?
So energy storage system is nothing, as a word mentioned, that it will store the energy during renewable peak time, the excess energy that will be generating. If you remember, I just mentioned that
Yes.
we are generating a lot of solar during the daytime. If you look at current mix, it is actually we are over capacity during that time. So this extra energy, which is low cost, if we can store it and use it in the evening, then the net zero journey can be fulfilled. There are a lot of other things like grid frequency. We are not going in that part. If we leave that part, then that store of energy can be supplied in the evening. Then possibly we can ramp down thermal uh, in a better way, and we can journey. So energy storage system is be it battery, be it pump hydro, which will store the energy during the peak renewable hours and will supply when the renewable will not be available.
So, India's renewable energy transition is heavily dependent on imports for certain technologies. What steps are taken to address this and reduce the dependency?
So this is a very critical thing. For example, thermal. Thermal was totally domestic driven. The entire value chain was domestic. As we moved to solar, we were not the primary driver in the initial stage. Countries like China, even Western world, they were the pioneers. And we were a bit late in it. Now, when the ecosystem, see, for every industry, you need an ecosystem. Only one part will not be enough.
Right.
For example, in solar, there is a lot coming from the sand, silica till the module which we consume, which we put in our houses, which we'll put in the grid. There's a lot of value chain into it. Now, developing that value chain is essential in order to have self-sufficiency. So here, the role of government comes. Like for example, the last stage. So it's like a chicken egg thing. For example, the industry will ask for a total ecosystem so that their cost will be competitive. But in order to be competitive, we'll ask the industry to first set up the plant. Now here the role of government comes. For example, India incentivizes a lot in the last stage of solar, which is cell to module, which is perhaps the easiest thing. You take the cell, you put it in one plant. It's like a robotic thing, and it will from cell to module. It will just manufacture. In terms of technology, it's nothing if you compare it with, say, thermal plants. But that is one crucial link. Now, the companies came up, they put plants in cell to module. Now they are thriving. They earned a good amount of IRR. They generated good amount of IRR. Now they are doing backward integration. Some are going to cells. In fact, some went to ingot also, which is one level down. Till the time we reach the polysilicon level, we are not self-sufficient. But what the government did, in first they incentivize only the module. Now they are going towards the cell because module infrastructure is fully developed. Once a cell is done, they will go to ingot and then towards till the polysilicon level. So it's like evolving thing. Even in battery, which is the storage part, now government is pushing in the last stage again, like cell to module. For battery, it is cell pack. So in the cell pack, the government is pushing that. But once it is done, government will be pushing towards cell manufacturing. But there again, the big part is cathode. For the entire battery, the cell pack, the almost like 70% of the cost is cathode. But as of now, we have to import cathode, we have to import anode. We will only be assembling when manufacturing cell. But still, that is important. Once the ecosystem of cell is developed, then cell to pack is already developed, we can go back further down.
So you just mentioned about the government's role in the whole spectrum. Can you also emphasize on government's initiatives that have actually had a significant impact?
So, for example, the import restriction that the government is doing, that, for example, that 40% duty on solar module, ALMM. So, all these things are giving a security to the domestic manufacturer for the Chinese import or the imports, which is at a much cheaper price. If you go to China, they are all at loss-making plants. So, in India, competing with their ecosystem is impossible. So there, the companies are getting some some extra mile in order to put up their capacity because their profitability is secured. Secondly, government is putting up RPO, renewable power obligation, to all the power plants, and so power plants have to source renewable in order to put their own power. For example, a thermal plant also need to source renewable in their mix in order to push. So it's like that it is not just government push, it is also cost efficient. For example, a power plant where the variable cost is say 3 rupees a unit or 3.5 rupees a unit. If it is sourcing from solar during the daytime, they will be sourcing at almost like 2 rupee, 2.5 rupees a unit. So basically, government initiative is also making economic sense there. Secondly, coming to the import dependency point. In import dependency, what is happening? In certain areas, we are not import dependent. For example, generation renewables are, one is solar and the second one is wind. In the storage, one is battery and second one is pump hydro. There are various storage avenues, but these are the two prevalent ones. So in wind, if you look at, we are domestically sufficient already. In solar, till one point we are sufficient, but lot of the value chain we are still not self-sufficient. But in wind versus solar, solar is having the supply metrics of solar is better because wind is, again, as I mentioned, it's seasonal.
Yes.
And it comes in the evening only, and the variability is high. So solar, there is a problem. Again, in storage, in pump hydro, we are broadly self-sufficient. We are self-sufficient in hydro, but in pump hydro, we need reversible turbine, where India's capacity is not that much. One company is having the technology, but it has not won any contract till now. So, but it is only that part, the turbine part, we are import dependent. But what is again in pump hydro, the bigger problem is the execution. It takes almost 3 to 4 years to execute a pump hydro project. In battery, you can do it in months. So now when the deficit is coming, if you have to choose, you will choose something which will be guaranteeing it the execution within few months. And it is cost competent. Competent. So that way it is getting interesting.
Thank you so much, Mr. Dutta, for joining us and sharing your insights on India's renewable energy journey.
Thank you for hosting.
And for our listeners, thank you for tuning in. If you found this episode helpful, please don't forget to subscribe and share it with your network. Stay connected for more such conversations on the future of energy. And until next time, keep supporting a greener tomorrow. Thank you.
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.